So let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Moe, and welcome to our webinar on the Sports Incentivization Grant for 2024. I am the Director of Tourism Development and Strategic Partnership for State of Washington Tourism. And today we're going to provide an overview on our second grant program this year. It is designed to help you successfully bid on sports tournaments and events to bring visitors to your destination. First of all, I want to give credit to the Washington State Department of Commerce, who awarded SWT with a $3.5 million Destination Planning and Development Grant. This program provides the funding for this grant and all of our grants programs in the coming year and next year. So a big thank you to Commerce for their confidence in SWT. Here is our agenda for today. First, I'm going to give an overview of the grant, and then I'll turn it over to our Destination Development Coordinator, Tamara Rice, who will show you how to apply on our new grant management platform. Finally, I'll go over our budget template, and then we'll answer any questions you might have. And before we get started, I do want to note that this grant is structured a little differently from grants that we've previously run. So I want you to be patient with us. We've done our best to iron out any wrinkles, but there might be a couple of unexpected shifting details that pop up now and again. But if anything changes, we'll do our best to stay on top of it and keep you informed. And like I mentioned, we should have plenty of time at the end to answer questions and maybe a few times throughout the presentation. So I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, and don't forget to use that Q&A button for questions. That's a little bit easier formatting. And then this webinar is also being recorded, so I'll send a link out of the recording along with a slide deck so you can review anything you may have missed today. So let's go ahead and get started with our program overview. The purpose of this grant is to help communities successfully bid on competitive sports tournaments or events. Now, the question has been asked, what is considered a sport event? Do things like esports count? These events should resemble tournaments or competitions where individuals or teams compete against each other. The events should be biddable. So this is not intended to help you start a fun run or a destination-led event. Those things, it's not that we don't appreciate those things. There are other grants that will have those opportunities, especially in our tourism regeneration grant. This is just not that grant. This is for something like a sports competition or tournament that is biddable that you can bring to your destination. This event, your event should be new to your destination, or at least not held in your destination in 3 years. So it's not something you've already been bringing annually to your destination. And then the events should ensure that at least 50 athletes or coaches should come for at least 2 days to your destination. Single day events will be considered if a majority of the athletes are coming from 50 miles away. Hopefully that all makes sense. Applicants must be Washington-based. There must be an organization such as a local government, like a city or a county. Obviously, a sports commission would work here. Tribal organization, a chamber, a destination organization, or another nonprofit that supports travel, tourism, and of course, sports. Here are the key program dates. You have a full month starting on February 15th to submit your application. A grant review committee will score your application based on the criteria that we'll go over in a few minutes. And then by April 15th, the successful grantees will be notified. Now, here's the different part. The remainder of the qualified applicants will be put into a ranked waiting list. Once the grantees sign the contract with SWT, they must complete an agreement with the tournament or event that they proposed on by July 1st to receive the funds from SWT. If for some reason the grantee is unsuccessful in their bid, the contract with SWT will be voided, and then the organization at the top of the waiting list will have a chance to use the dollars if they're able to complete an agreement with their proposed event. If you are not able to complete a contract with your proposed event, you can't just move those dollars to some different event. It needs to be with the event that you put in your proposal. Hopefully that makes sense. Please note that these dollars come from the Department of Commerce. We can only invoice Commerce once we have contracts in place with the grantees, and once you have your contract with the event that you've proposed on. And then once that is done, we can only fund grants once we receive the money from Commerce. And so, you'll notice there's some approximate dates in there. That's because the money needs to wind through the full SWT and commerce machinery. However, we will try to get the money out to you as soon as possible once the contracts are in place. Up to $30,000 will be awarded for each grant. Matching funds are encouraged but not necessarily required, and we have $150,000 total available for this program. We will be running it again, or we're scheduled to run it again in 2025. So we'll have one this year and next year. As I mentioned, grantees will only receive funding after submitting a signed contract with the sports rights holder. And then if a bid is unsuccessful, the money will be offered to the top candidate on our waiting list. One other thing I should note is that if you apply for this grant, you are not precluded from applying for any of our other grants. You can apply for more than one. Those not necessarily in our grant criteria, we always love to see collaboration with other stakeholders, including your DMOs, chambers, tribes, local government, and land managers. One other thing that is part of our criteria, which I'll show you again in a few minutes, but we will want to see how you plan to show that your community is welcome to all visitors. Here are some the eligible expenses, eligible expenses. This is outlined on our web page, which I will put in the chat here. No, hang on. Tamara, do you mind going and putting into the chat the grants page where you find a landing page for the sports incentivization grant there, and they'll have this list of eligible expenses and ineligible expenses. One thing I want to note that we just learned yesterday from Commerce, for travel lodging and for participants, they have to be in Washington, and they have to be at the OFM reimbursement rates. There is going to be a map, a handy-dandy little map on the eligible expenses list that, again, you'll find on our website that will give you those rates. And they're pretty reasonable, so I wouldn't worry too much about it, but just make sure that they are, at or below the threshold of the OFM reimbursement rate. Here are some expenses that are not eligible. Just making, things like alcohol, advertising for this program, that sort of thing. Doing client events for the sports right holder, that sort of thing is not eligible for this money. As I've mentioned before, this is federal grant money, and so there are more stringent rules on the money than what we've previously given out in our other grant programs. First of all, when using federal dollars, they are federal dollars all the way from the federal government, all the way down through commerce, through us, to you, through you, until they hit whatever business or subcontractor you use. So the rules do not change for any of us. First of all, you and any subcontractor you use will need to have a UEI number, a unique entity ID number, which you can acquire for free at sam.gov. That is sam.gov. We'll have a link provided on the application, but it does take a little while for this to go through. So I would kind of hustle to get your number from sam.gov as soon as possible. Your contractors must be billed on a reimbursement basis. So you have to pay them after they do the work and send you an invoice. We need to see receipts after the event. And we'll have a handy little expense tracker that we'll give you so you can track every dollar for the grant. And then finally, dollars cannot be used for staff salaries. Finally, here is the grant criteria. Like I said, after you submit your application, our grant review committee will score it based on this criteria. 30%, the largest share, is with obviously the focus strategy for your event. So what event are you bidding on? How will you run it in your community? What kinds of vendors or partners are you going to work with? If you were with us last time, we learned that you can't tell us what vendors or partners you're going to work with because you need to kind of follow the guidelines that, again, can be found on our website here. Hopefully we have that. Yes, Tamara has put that into the chat there. It's just that on our industry site, it's specific to this grant, and it'll tell you all the rules about working with subcontractors. Basically, if it's under $10,000 for subcontractor, you don't have to have competitive bids. But if it's above $10,000, you have to have at least 3 quotes. And then it's above $30,000 or $40,000 for small businesses. you have to follow federal procurement standards. So that last one's not really relevant to this one because over $30,000 or below, but just keep that in mind. We also want to see the size and economic impact on your community. Please outline the return on investment. We want to make sure if we're giving you $30,000 that you're not just, creating $5,000 for your economy. We want to really see that return on this investment. We want you to outline the need for your destination. Why is this funding important to you? We want to see a commitment to safety, security, accessibility, and inclusion of all participants and visitors. And then tell us about any match funding that's available, along with your ability to execute the project and comply with reporting requirements. So I'm going to stop there. Before I turn it over to Tamara, I'm going to go through some questions. I see there's some in the Q&A. Esports is a recognized Olympic sport and is featured in the upcoming Olympics. Would that make it qualify for this grant program? Given its mainstream focus, it's great to capitalize on economic impact. And yes, it would, according to our definition, it's competition. People are participating in tournaments. And so that is okay. If rates, here's a good question that I actually don't know the answer to, but I will find out for you. If rates are outside of the OFM lodging rates, can they be reimbursed up to that amount with the understanding that the organizer will be responsible for the difference? Oh man, that's a good question. So I will be writing that one down, and I will find out from Commerce because I don't want to give you wrong information. But I will include it in my my follow-up email, which will probably come either later today or tomorrow. That will also include the slide deck and link to this webinar. Okay. Look in the Q&A. Do we have? That's the Q&A. Let's see. Do we have any in the chat? Looks like just in the chat, people saying hi from all those wonderful places around our beautiful state. Can one organization apply multiple times for different events? Sydney, the answer is yes to that. I will say that it is always our goal to spread the money around as much as possible. And so I would probably guess that you wouldn't get more than one, but you never know. If we have money to spend and not that many people applying, it could happen. Make sure if you do apply more than once that you give us, your priority project. So we're making sure we're funding the right thing. Somebody asked, is this a reimbursement grant? Another good question. No. The reimbursement when you guys have the money, then it's reimbursement from your contractors. In this case, for us, we are able to get the money from Commerce before it's being spent on your end, and we're able to give it to you before you spend it. We just need to see, you have to have a contract signed with SWT, and you have to have a contract signed with the organization for the whatever tournament or competition it is. But you don't have to, you're not going to be reimbursed after the event is over. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So now I'll answer more questions here in a few minutes. I'm going to turn it over to Tamara Rice, who will come on and share her screen and show you the application process.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm happy to be here to support grant applicants, and you'll actually probably be interacting with me the most for your application and reporting processes here. So first, I'd like to let you know where to find the link to apply for this grant, and you can find it at the SWT's industry website at the grant landing page. And it will be available on the day that the grant opens, which is on this grant, February 15th. So I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can run through the new grant application platform. So this is a new grant application platform to us, so you'll be a new user to this one as well. You'll need to first set up your account, and I want to point out that the email address you use here will be receiving a 6-digit passcode. So when you click create account, you'll want to enter that 6-digit passcode. So I already have an account set up, so I'm going to go ahead and click on apply here. And so the first thing you'll do after you have your account set up is you'll set up your new organization profile. So I already have one set up, so we'll run through the questions that you'll be answering on that profile. We'll need your organization's legal name, your EIN number, your unique entity ID, so your UEI. SAM.gov here's the link to go and register for your UEI, and I would do that sooner than later if you don't have that already, because it may take a little bit for you to receive that. We'll need your organization's mailing address and a primary contact. You can also enter up to 3 more contacts. We would like to have more than the primary contact listed here, but if for some reason you don't have another contact to list, please enter NA in the fields that are required for this category. Do you have a DMO that you'd like to list? Go ahead and list that here as well. I'm going to go ahead and save my profile and continue here. So then we move on to the eligibility check. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and go back so you all can look at the program information. So you'll see the program info page for this sports incentivization grant application, and it will go over a lot of the information that Mike just went over. It has the important dates, timeline here, eligibility and eligibility expenses, a link to that. Stipulations for working with contractors. It's real important that you understand that, and here's some resources to help you with that as well. The OFM reimbursement rate is also linked here. Reporting and oversight the information is here. We have a FAQ page for this grantee program, also for the WiseHive application portal, and we will be including the recorded session here as well. My email address is here if you need to reach out for questions at any time during your application process. And now I'm going to click apply. Go through that again. My apologies, it's kind of redundant here. Now we're on to the eligibility check. All right, so we'll go ahead and start that. So your organization does need to reside in Washington. I'm going to click yes on that one. Are you a for-profit business? For-profit businesses are not eligible to apply for this grant. I'm going to click no for this and go ahead and check my eligibility.
Tamara?
Yes?
I want to mention that because there's a couple of questions already. I know there was a thing that said 501c3. That is a weird thing on this website. Don't worry about that. If you're a 501c6, you're just fine to apply. You're only ineligible if you are a for-profit business. Yeah,
and I checked on that a little bit. There's this thing with this platform that's called GuideStar, and it's for folks with 501c3s. It's a way to verify some information on there, and I believe that's why they have it on there. So thank you for that clarification, Mike. I'm going to go ahead and start applying now. And so on this application, you'll see the 3 heads up here. This is where you can add collaborators. Take note that there always needs to be a lead applicant, but the lead applicant is the one that can add collaborators here. And you can also remove them if somebody moves on from the organization. So close that. You can also review the application, open it up here if you'd like to download it. And we'll go ahead and start here. So we'll need your project title, the grant amount requested, and the maximum for this grant is $30,000. If you enter more than that in here, you will not be able to submit your application, but you'll be able to go back and edit it, so you'll be able to submit. We'll need the total cost of this project, an estimated project ROI. What kind of sporting event is this? And this is just a brief description. Your anticipated date of the event contract completion and signing. Also select the region or regions that this event will be taking place in. And we have several questions here. I want to note that these questions may be changing just a little bit. We're still in the process of tweaking this application. The first question will have an 800-word maximum, and the questions that are remaining will have 400-word maximum. Supporting documents that we'll need your verification letter, and I need to point out that it does need to be legible verification letter. Here is the a phone number if you need to contact IRS for any reason for this letter. We'll also need your UEI verification letter. Again, here's the website link for that, or web link. We'll need a W-9 form, and the grant applicant budget template is also here too. We'll need that uploaded in this category, and it's real easy to choose your file and upload. We'll need your organization's annual budget information and the annual marketing budget, your legislative district, and here's a district finder for that. If you have more than one district, please enter all of them here. We'll need your event RFP or event information uploaded here as well. There's also an area to enter optional documents, and you can enter up to 5 uploads here. So submit draft quote requests for vendors or other documents that will help our review committee. A letter of recommendation is not required, but highly recommended. You can upload 3 references or enter 3 references and upload up to 3 recommendations. And finally, we're at the agreement signature area. And I need to point out that this is not a contract. You're not signing a contract here, but you are agreeing to the criteria of this grant program. Successful applicants will receive award contracts to sign. And I'm going to go ahead and exit this. And if you try to submit this, of course, I didn't answer any of these questions. So you see all this red here, and you go back and you will update. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. And so make sure if you have any questions, my email address is located at the end of the webinar here. And I do want to point out also that Mike is going to be including an FAQ for the WiseHive grant application portal to help you out too if you have more questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tamara. And I've just popped her email in the chat. We have a few more questions here. Do you need to set up a different account for each grant that you apply for, or just use the assigned number? You can just use your assigned number. If you've already applied for the rural marketing and production grant, you can use that account number in your application. If you're already in process with a bid but do not know if you've won, can you apply? If you already won a bid, can you apply? Typically, these bidding processes are so far ahead of events, so we're already in process for a couple of 2024 and 2025 events. And yes, we understand that usually for these, it's got to be something that's kind of brand new, but because of the long lead time on this, you can, as long as all of the other rules they work for this grant, you can bid on an event that you've already been working on. I wish we'd been told a while ago that this grant needed to have an event secured. You don't have to have the event secured yet. You do have to get to apply and become a successful grant applicant. You don't need it secured yet. You need to have it secured by July 1st. And I do understand that that's not a lot of time, but remember, we are going to be running this again in 2025. So you will have another opportunity coming up. So if we were working with a for-profit company to put on this event, this qualifies. For example, a rally card company, Dirtfish, oh, I know where this is coming from, so call me, would like to bring in a WRC championship. Would that work as a project? Absolutely, especially if you hopefully are coming from Snoqualmie Valley Chamber or one of those awesome organizations up there. If you are applying for this, you can apply, especially if you invite me to the event, because that one sounds awesome. And please show Tamara Rice's email. It is in the chat to everyone. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I'll come back to questions in a few minutes. Right now, I want to show you our grant applicant budget template, just to make sure that you guys are all on board with this. So this will be something that you guys can fill out. Now, this one is still kind of filled out for the rural marketing and production, but I think you'll get the idea. You'll have a date, you'll have your applicant organization, how much you're requesting, and then you'll talk about the different activities. So, for example, it wouldn't be photography, but maybe it'll be for catering or for event facilities fees or officials, that sort of thing. And so you have the activity description of scope of work, your anticipated budget. You'll talk about how much the money would be coming from us, how much money would be coming from you, and then the in-kind expense. So if you have volunteers who are working on stuff, or if you have, let's say you have a catering who's going to give you a discount for this would be used for in-kind. And again, this is not necessarily required, but it is 5% of our when we do our scoring. So it is somewhat, we want to see some skin in the game from everybody. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And let's see if there's any more questions that we have. Doesn't look like it. I scheduled a full hour for this program, and it looks like we're going to be wrapping up early. Oh, here's a question from Annette in the. Oh, you know what? I did do Tamara's too. Hang on, guys. Let me do this. It went to host and panelists instead of everyone. Okay, now you guys should have Tamara's email, tamara@stateofwatourism.com. Can you use your own format for your annual marketing budget, or do you have to have a required template for that? That budget is not your annual marketing budget. The question for that, and that is in the application. We just need to know kind of a round number of what your annual marketing budget is. We do not need to see line by line your budget, just a number of what you have for your marketing budget, and that's really to help us determine kind of where people are at as far as state of need. There is a question in the Q&A. You mentioned the events will need to be secured by July. Does that mean only the awarding of the event? Yes, that is the awarding. That is like when you make an agreement with let's say you have a baseball tournament that you're bidding on, and you've secured that event to come to your destination. That's what we mean by that. Not the event you have until we've given you all the way up until December 31st, 2025 to actually run the event. Unfortunately, past that date, we cannot use these funds because again, they're coming from Commerce and that is the deadline. Are there any requirements for when? Yes, so that is when the event needs to happen by December 31st. For clarification, the WISE question mark, and I know it's kind of a weird name, WISE Hive. It's just the grant management platform we're using. You'll have a link to that application and the portal on our website on that sports incentivization grant landing page on February 15th, the day that this grant opens. Our grant, the Rural Marketing and Production Grant, that opens on the 1st, but this one opens on February 15th. So that will be on the industry SWT site on that day. Mike, if we were taking over an existing event, can we still apply? If the event is new to your destination, you can apply. We want to see new stuff happening, new things. So I would say that, like, let's say you are in Leavenworth and Leavenworth's had this event for many years that is a gravel biking event, and that now, just because the chamber's not doing it, now that the city wants to do it, no, it really needs to be a new event to your destination. All right, I think that answers the questions that I see for now. Oh, here we are. Can we create a login prior to February 15th on WiseHive? I really appreciate your enthusiasm for this, but no, unfortunately, it needs to be on February 15th before it opens up. But you have a whole month. You have a full month to get this done. So it doesn't close until March 15th. So you should have plenty of time there. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to Tamara or myself. And that is, yeah, we're always available to answer questions. So I'm going to end it there. I'm going to give you back a half hour into your day, and I really appreciate you all for joining us again. I will be sending a follow-up email with a link to this recording. We'll also have the slide deck on there, and I will answer the question about the lodging, and we'll have a link to our FAQ. And so feel free to ask any more questions to Tamara or myself by emailing us, and we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.